Go ahead.
Thanks, Jen. With the news that the Trump Justice Department sought the records of more journalists, this time from the New York Times, can you talk a bit about Biden's pledge that the practice won't continue under his Justice Department? Can you speak to, in particular, how can the president keep that promise while also making good on his pledge to uphold the independence of the Justice Department?
Sure. Well, for those of you who didn't follow as closely what Alex referenced, though I bet many of you did, this is the third announcement by the Department of Justice of attaining records of journalists during the last year of the Trump administration, so something they're projecting publicly that happened during the last year of the Trump administration. They've also indicated that this is the last. As you noted, Alex, the president has made clear that on his watch, freedom of press will be protected. He laid out core principles several weeks ago because this is something that he is personally passionate about, and he has a long record with respect to protecting the rights of journalists. And as he's always been empathetic about, he was always alarmed by the way the former administration, the Trump administration, abused their power in some cases, and the career nonpartisan civil servants often were doing their work with great professionalism and honor and were put in a difficult position. So I will say that he's always felt that it's important, as is evident by his words he shared just a few weeks ago, that we should always be refining and improving our approaches to how we approach this issue and any other issue. I don't have anything to preview for you in terms of a specific policy moving forward, but it's something that that's kind of his principles he will approach this from moving forward.
Well, you said the White House had not spoken to the DOJ about this particular issue. Was it just a suggestion to the DOJ? I mean, how is this going to become codified?
Well, obviously the president spoke to it himself publicly, and we're in touch at the appropriate layers of the White House and the Department of Justice. And but certainly this is the position of the President of the United States, what principles he wants to abide by as president, and he conveyed that publicly, so it wasn't exactly in secret.
Sure. And then on infrastructure, President Biden tried to give Republicans an alternative to funding infrastructure. He suggested a 15% minimum tax rather than a hike in the corporate tax rates. So can you talk a little bit about how this informs his broader vision? Is this a change to his broader vision on infrastructure? And is he basically proposing that no profitable corporation should be able to avoid taxes? Is that the sort of founding principle of that proposal?
Well, on the last one, that's absolutely a principle. I will note, and I know this was a lengthy fact sheet at the time, but the book minimum tax, which is the 15% minimum tax, was actually in the American Jobs Plan as one of the pay-for components. So what happened over the last couple of days, and also in the meeting yesterday, is that the president did a thorough review of all of the tax reforms he's proposed, many of them on the campaign. So he talked about this on the campaign. It was in the American Jobs Plan as a pay-for, and also is reflected in our budget that we just put out last Friday. And he looked to see what could be a path forward with his Republican colleagues on this specific negotiation. Now, I think it's important to step back and remember that what the proposal is about, the American Jobs Plan, is a historic investment in infrastructure, modernizing our nation's infrastructure, becoming more competitive around the world. He's proposed ways to pay for it, right? Others have not exactly done the same in many capacities. So this is a way for him to identify pieces that he's long been proponent of as ways where he feels it would not violate. This should be completely acceptable to a number of Republicans who have said that they want to leave, their bottom line is they want to leave the 2017 tax law untouched. So I wouldn't say it's a new approach by the president. This is in our budget. It was on the campaign. It was in the American Jobs Plan proposal. He also talked, of course, about the benefit of tax enforcement and how that could be a revenue raiser. But what really should stand out at this point to people is that opposing this proposal would mean not only opposing raising taxes on the wealthiest Americans who've done extraordinarily well during the pandemic, it would mean opposing the very enforcement of the 2017 tax law. It would mean maybe having the view that that nobody should pay, that these 50 corporations who didn't pay taxes shouldn't pay any taxes at all. And that certainly is not the view the president has.